Yo, what's up, good people? My name is Ngango, and welcome back to Defining. Today we have a very special episode with a very special guest. You know her as a doctor and a radio DJ who's not scared to talk about things like HIV, mental health, sex, and of course, her personal life. It's the one and only Dr. Sindi van Zyl I. You have. Welcome to Defining again.
Thank you. Now, we did this about 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we did this 2 years ago, and I'm happy to be doing this again because we can't speak enough about mental health.
Yeah.
There's so much to discuss, there's so much to share, and yeah, people are coming out of their shells about it, and I'm happy.
So this is going to be quite an interesting conversation. We're going to be doing a very special edition of Asking for a Friend, the Mental Health Edition. If you are feeling the conversation, please do make sure to continue watching and make sure to also click the subscribe button below so that you can join the Defining family. So first things first, I think that there's a lot of confusion still regarding the conversation of mental health. So if you go back to basics, if one of your kids are like, Mama, how do you describe mental health? How would you have that conversation?
Okay, so your mental health is every day we do stuff. You wake up in the morning, you eat, you drink, then you bath, then you go to work and so on. And you need mental health to do those things. So it's a functioning of your brain and how it affects your life. But now, if you can't wake up in the morning and you can't get dressed and you can't, be productive, then we have a problem. And mental illness is anything that impairs your life as a human being. The hard thing about mental illness is that you can't see it.
Yeah.
Right? So as a medical doctor, if someone comes in and they've got a cut on their hand, I know what to do. Okay, cut on the hand, let's clean it up, give you a tetanus shot if you need one, bandage you and so on. But if you come in and you say to me, Doc, I'm not feeling okay, I'm feeling a bit tired, I'm feeling a bit depressed, that's harder to work with, right? And so it's harder to speak about because, as I said, you can't see it. So people then shy away from telling their doctors or their friends about what they're going through. And I think in the last few years, certainly in the last 5 years, that is changing. We are working on changing perceptions about mental illness. It doesn't mean that you're weak if you have a mental illness.
Yeah.
I think I need to say that because people feel as if, why weak? Like, why can't you have your stuff together? Like, just get it together. It's not that easy. You can't just get it together. And I speak as a person that's living with depression. I mean, I was diagnosed with depression in 2013. So as a person that's living with depression, I'm a fully functional human being. I'm a medical doctor, I'm a mommy, I'm a lot of things, but I'm living with depression. Does it make me weak? No, it doesn't. It just means that there are days or there are weeks where I'm not okay. And I know what to do to get myself okay again, and I can't continue with my life.
So let's look at a couple of scenarios. First one is, as you mentioned, people think that it's based on, I'm weak or I have a character flaw. Do you think that's true or false?
That's false. So most mental illnesses, it's to do with a chemical imbalance in your brain. So do you have any control over the chemicals in your brain? No, you don't. And I'll just use depression as an example because I'm very well versed with that.
Yeah.
You have a happy hormone called serotonin, and there's another one called dopamine. There's quite a few of them, but you have a certain amount of serotonin in your brain that makes sure that you can wake up in the morning, you're motivated, you can get stuff done. But sometimes things happen in your life that starts, diminishing that amount of serotonin. So your brain is always making serotonin. But if there's a lot of trauma and there's a lot of things happening in your life, your brain can't then keep up with these levels of serotonin that are dropping.
Yeah.
Right? And then you find yourself clinically depressed, like I found myself clinically depressed. Did I have control over external factors that contributed to my depression? No, I didn't. Could I fill up the serotonin myself? I could have tried because the things that make you happy help you to fill up your serotonin. But there comes a level where no matter how much of those things that make you happy you do, your serotonin levels are not going to go up. And eventually you end up, with severe depression, and then sometimes you end up dying by suicide. And the things that make people happy, it's like stuff like, sex, drinking, going out, shopping. And when I look back on the days leading up to my mental breakdown, I was trying to fill my life with happiness. So I was drinking more. I was doing a lot of things, more shopping, and eventually the behaviors become a bit reckless, and that's a sign there that you need help.
Yeah.
Right. So I got the help that I needed, and that's why I'm here to talk about it. But you need to work that out in your head. You need to understand that it's not you. You are not the problem. Your brain is just not making enough of these chemicals that can help you, function better.
But I know a lot of people are confused when it comes to just being extremely sad and being depressed.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line?
So the line is just simply about the time frame regarding the sadness, right? So it's one thing to be sad. So say you break up with your partner, you'll probably be sad for about 6 months at the most, and after a while you're like, no, doesn't matter, good riddance. Then you start working your way out of it.
Yeah.
But depression is persistently sad, right? And also you lose interest in the things that make you happy. So if you've broken up with your boyfriend, the first few weeks are hectic, right? But after a while you're like, no, let me go to Fontaine with my girls. Even if we see him there, I don't care. And there you are at Fontaine, you see him, you roll your eyes and you carry on with your life. But depression debilitates you. You are not able to get out of bed. You don't want to do the things that you used to do. You change. You stop looking after yourself. You stop, if you're always cutting your hair like I am, you stop cutting your hair. You stop eating. I know I stopped eating. I lost weight like overnight because I didn't want to eat anymore. You stop being productive, and that's when you know that there's something wrong. So you can't, for some people they're able to just keep a happy face. I call it autopilots, and you just carry on acting normal, but eventually it catches up with you.
It hits.
You can do autopilot for a while, but you can't do autopilot forever. I don't know anybody that has been able to do autopilot forever.
Yeah, and I think when you try and the longer you do this autopilot, the more extreme your reaction will be in the end.
Exactly.
So
we want you to get help as soon as possible, because there is help. We know what to do to help you.
But then another dynamic is also overthinking and overanalyzing.
Yeah.
And anxiety on the other side. So where do you draw the line there?
So, overthinking and overanalyzing, it's a personality trait. So we have type A personalities, people like Sindi, overachievers, who are always worried about stuff. Those are the people that find themselves prone to overthinking and overanalyzing.
Yeah.
Anxiety is something else. Anxiety can paralyze you. So, you go into a mall, you've got a meeting, and it's on the 4th floor of the shopping center, and you walk into this mall, and all of a sudden your palms become clammy, your heart is racing, you start sweating on your face, you can't speak, your mouth becomes dry. People have anxiety attacks will tell you it feels as if they're dying, and that also is something we can sort out. Right, so overthinking, overanalyzing, we can work through that. You can talk to yourself, or you can see a therapist and find a way of coping with that. But anxiety really is an issue, for some people, and you will need help. Some people might need to go on drugs that we call anti-anxiolytics. So you might take these drugs for a few months. A good example is Ubanol, and that helps you to cope. So okay, I've got a meeting coming up, I've popped my Ubanol, I can cope. So you might still feel some of the symptoms, but at least it's not like you standing there not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
So anxiety is a real thing, and you must get it sorted out.
We received a lot of emails as well from people saying, I'm not sure where I stand on those two things.
Yeah.
Is there any way that one can assess their situation to see where they stand?
So for me, the big factor is always, is this thing affecting my life in an adverse manner? Then you know that you need an intervention. So using myself as an example, I reached a stage before I got admitted for depression where I wasn't getting out of bed. And as a result of that, I missed a close friend's wedding. I always use it as an example. I'm a social butterfly of note. We all know this.
Yeah.
But for me to have missed a close friend's wedding was a red flag of note. So my situation was affecting my life in an adverse manner. So if you have situations that people are starting to know there's something wrong, then you need to get a professional opinion on what's happening. And Tina, as friends and family around people who we see changing, don't ignore those signs. Like if someone is changing, something must say to you, hi man, Dennis is always happy, Dennis is always this. Why has he withdrawn? Why is he not coming to gigs anymore? Why is he not picking up calls? Why is he not responding to WhatsApp messages? Something must make you probe further. And that probing might prompt the person to go and seek help.
Yeah. We have a couple of scenarios regarding seeking help. So the first one says, I have a problem of not being able to ask or seek help when I need it.
Yeah.
They do offer services here on campus, but I find that sleeping it off for a few days in my room without talking to anyone helps me. I'll be feeling incredibly overwhelmed by my studies or anything, but I rarely seek help. How unhealthy is that? Is it going to cause problems for me in the future?
Oh, most definitely. University is a hectic place. Tertiary is hectic, and this person sounds like they're going down the slippery slope towards depression. And I'm not sure what the clinic setup is at this particular institution, but I can imagine that if confidentiality is not guaranteed, the chances of you speaking out about something like this are very small. So I would recommend that this particular person maybe goes and sees their GP or a GP, a medical doctor, a general practitioner, and speaks about their issue outside of the campus situation.
Yeah.
Because confidentiality when it comes to mental illness is very important. People don't want to be found out to be suffering from a mental illness. Then you're considered weak, and also you're not coping with varsity and everyone else is coping. That kind of thing can deter you.
But I think sleep is a method that a lot of people use to just not feel, to numb their feelings.
Is, Dennis, because the chemicals are low, you want to sleep anyway. It's not I was Zenzi. It's like, because your chemical imbalance is at that level, you are just going to want to sleep. I don't have motivation to do anything. Let me describe it to you how I've described it to people. Imagine being at the bottom of the ocean and the water is clear, it's beautiful, it's clear. And at the top you can see there's a boat. And the people are calling me, Cindy, come. You know that to get to the top, you need to kick yourself off the floor of the ocean, right? You know this. And you know that if you do it, you'll get to the top. But you just can't. That is what it feels like. You know what to do. You know that there's help around you. You know that if you do get the help, you'll get better. But in motivation, for you to do that thing, ayikho. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. You are not motivated at all. And people around you like, hey man, just do it. You can do this. And you're like, why are these people bothering me? Can't they see that I can't actually do this? That's what happens.
But then how do you get the motivation? Is the only way to seek help? Or is there some sort of internal voice? Because I think people wait for a very long time thinking today's going to be the day. Then 5 minutes into today, they're like, it's not happening. So is there a time where there is some sort of motivation that kicks in? Or is it a thing of the best step is to speak out and seek help?
Dennis, I can't really say, because remember with my case, I had a breakdown and I went from mental breakdown on Monday to hospital on Wednesday. So I waited until the very end. So did I have a voice telling me that I must do something? Yes, I'd hear that voice, but I was able to override it.
Yeah.
So I hope that, if you're hearing a voice telling you to seek help, please don't ignore it. Just do something, because, there is help out there. But if you don't do something, you might find yourself in a very terrible situation.
Yeah, even if the voice is whispering, I think there's always something coming in the back of your mind, and you want to change habits, but it just feels like it'll take forever to get things back to where they used to be.
The thing is, when you're at that level of despondency, nothing makes sense. Everything seems futile, and there's this constant voice saying to you that you're better off dead. We call it suicidal ideation. It's and I say this and I say this and I say this. Had I not heard those voices myself, I wouldn't have believed that when patients report that they're hearing voices, they're actually hearing voices. But I heard those voices, and those voices only stopped once I was admitted and started on medication. But there's this thing that says to you, you're a useless mommy, you're a useless doctor, you're a useless friend, and so you can imagine, here you are at the bottom of the ocean, you've got no motivation to go to the top. Then there's this voice that tells you how useless you are. Nothing makes sense. Now let's just cut.
Yeah, but in the same breath, there's also that whole conversation of people are always trying to dismiss mental health by saying it's based on your own actions that you got there. It's based on the fact that you didn't give your daughter time, that you feel like you're a bad mother, and now you're feeling like this. How do you dismiss that type of narrative?
It's unfair. That's a very unfair narrative, until you've been in those shoes. And I wouldn't want anyone to get there. You can't say that. It's a lot, Dennis. It's a lot.
But we see it with our African mothers and fathers who are just like, but you didn't do what you needed to do, and now you're just claiming
that we are cooler when you're not. Yeah. Well, and this is why we're having these conversations. We need to challenge our parents. We need to challenge our elders. We need to challenge the way we think about mental illness as Black people, because the way we think about it, the way we speak about it, is what is deterring people from seeking help. We tend to shame people for having a mental illness. And that's unfair. My mom struggled. I think I've spoken about this quite a bit. My mom struggled. She couldn't understand how I was depressed. And her thing was, I gave you everything. You're a medical doctor. You're married. You've got 2 beautiful kids. You're successful. She wanted to understand why I was in that hospital.
Where's this thing coming from?
Yeah, exactly. And that's That's a lot of pressure to be dealing with, and I'm just glad I was dragged up at the time because I just sat there looking at her, listening to her, going on and on. That is the best thing, to sit there, look at her, let her finish, and say to her, "Well, Mama, you know what? I need to be here. And I understand what you're saying, but this is where I am, and I need to be here so I can get the help that I need." But if there are parents that are watching this, my age mates, we need to change the way we think about mental illness. You don't want your child to end up dying by suicide because you did not understand what was being explained to you. Not in the day and age of social media and Twitter and Google and YouTube. There's so much we can learn, and there's so much that we have to unlearn, and the tools are there for us. There's no excuse anymore.
Yeah. Next scenario, it also looks at seeking help, but from a different perspective.
Yeah.
It says, I have a cousin who is clinically depressed.
Yeah.
She has gone through so much and continues to go through a lot, literally all the time. She is stressed by school, has relationship and family problems, been raped by people she knows, miscarried, and tried to commit suicide several times.
Yeah.
I used to know how to be there for her in the beginning, but now I can't help, but I feel like I'm failing dismally. All I know how to do is to hug her and wipe her tears. Yeah. I never know what to say or do anymore because I feel like my words are becoming repetitive and meaningless. How do I help my cousin? Note she has gone to rehab for her depression and anxiety.
Well, you know what? What she's doing, being there, being repetitive with those words, giving hugs when they're necessary, that's the best you can do for that situation. That really is. I mean, her cousin has gone through the most.
She's gone through it.
Yeah, she's gone through a lot, and a case like this would need extensive therapy for a long time. There's so many issues to work through.
Yeah.
So many issues to work through. And in such cases, you don't get better overnight. So continue as you are. Thank you for being there for her. Thank you for giving the hugs. Thank you for letting her cry. And yeah, that's all you can do. Hope for the best. Some situations don't turn around immediately. So there's that.
Yeah. But I think what's important is that she doesn't become the person that decides to also carry the load as well.
Yeah.
Because I think when you're supporting someone, you just want to help them out so much that you start feeling what they feel.
Well, we can't help that. I mean, we're human beings. We have hearts. If you're a softie like me, you will feel what other people are feeling. So, she needs to find a way of releasing her stress and her tension, so that she can continue being a shoulder to lean on for her cousin. And I mean, not everyone can be a shoulder to lean on. So if you know yourselves, you can either do it or you can't. If you can't do it, make sure that your person gets to see a professional. Otherwise, just listen. I think when you're going through depression or any other mental illness, sometimes all you want is just a person to listen to.
Yeah,
and sometimes all you want is just to sit there in silence and they let you cry. And that also is nice. So ask what a person would like and then act accordingly. But don't be overly, no, you're gonna be fine, Dennis, you're gonna be fine. Sometimes that's not what we want to hear.
Not at all.
We know we're gonna, sometimes we know we're gonna be fine and sometimes we don't. But if you keep on coming and being this energizer bunny, that's like the worst. Like, no. It's nice to be an energizer bunny, but sometimes it's not appropriate.
Yeah, but we need
so you must gauge the situation.
Yeah. We need to make sure that we're not like projecting, because I think a lot of the times when you tell people about your problems, they easily start projecting based on their own perspectives and based on what they've been through, and all that does is indirectly dismiss the person's feelings. And then they don't open up to you, or they end up feeling even worse. So I think the best thing to do, as you mentioned, is to hear the person out and then ask them what they need.
Just listen. Yeah, just listen. And I know it's not easy supporting a person that has a mental illness, guys. I know. I mean, I look at my husband, I look at my kids. They went through a lot in the 4.5 years that I was physically there, but mentally and emotionally I wasn't there. And it was hard. I mean, my husband describes it as being with a person. They could see me. They could see that she's alive, but I was dead. So they could see, okay, there she is. She's in the lounge now. Okay, she's eating a bit. Now she's going to her room to sleep. So I was alive, like I was there in the flesh, but spiritually and emotionally and stuff, I was not there.
It wasn't happening.
So so being the partner of a person that's living with a mental illness is not always easy, and some relationships don't make it. So I'm just grateful that we survived that period. And we're able to speak about it. I mean, the movie that helped my kids understand what I'm going through is Inside Out. So if you ever get a chance to watch the movie Inside Out, please do. It just puts it in a fun way, but also in a way that kids can understand, because kids suffer the most. My kids didn't trust me, so we are at the moment rebuilding trust, because I promised to do stuff and I wouldn't do it. And then after a while, they just knew not to ask me, because what's the point of asking if she's always going to say, yes, yes, tomorrow. And then when tomorrow comes, I can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
So we're working on rebuilding trust. We're working on just getting to know each other again. And I say this, and people probably think, what do you mean? But it is like that.
Yeah. It's not just a sad moment or depressive moment that you're sharing. It's alive.
Yeah. Your whole life is affected.
We did get a question as well that says, how do I support a friend who refuses to seek psychological help?
Yeah, that's the hardest, because those friends worry you the most, because you're always worried that they're going to die by suicide. So, we adults, you've told them what needs to be done. Remind them that if they ever change their mind about seeking help, can they please let you know, and you'll take them where they need to be taken. But that's the hardest. And again, I understand the helplessness of not wanting to try anything, because what's the point? Having been there, I understand why someone wouldn't want to seek help. And some people have had bad experiences with psychologists. I must say this, that a psychologist is it's like dating. You try someone, and if it works, it's great. And if it doesn't work, you have every right to move on and try someone else. So, seeking therapy, you and your therapist have to gel. You need to find someone who understands who you are, who lets you speak freely, and help you to work through issues. So I was very blessed. I had Dr. Marelise Devantier, and she's lovely. She dresses really nice and she smells very nice. I think that made me happy. She's very girly, and I think I enjoyed going for my sessions just to see what outfit she's wearing, and she always changes her outfits, and she smelled nice as well. But I think what I loved the most about her is that she'd let me cry. There were days when I'd get there and I couldn't speak, and all I wanted to do was cry. So there was no pressure for me to say anything, and that was good. Then the following week I'd get there, and then I'd be able to speak, and say how I was feeling and stuff like that. So find someone that fits, someone that you gel with, and then it becomes easier. But not all therapists are the same, and not all therapists are for everybody.
No, true. And I think just like you said, it's a relationship as well, where there's a lot of giving and taking. It's not just you getting there and having to speak to the person. I had a psychologist also at varsity. I went for support, and what happened there, I had a really good experience, but that was because I was open with my psychologist and I said what I needed.
Okay.
So it wasn't that thing of I'm just sitting there waiting for her to ask me, okay, let's talk about your family next, and then talking about this. What happened was I literally also was taking accountability of being in that space, and I said, listen, sis, we need to discuss this as well, and I need to get something practical from you that will help me deal with these things. If you do not feel fulfilled to some capacity, or if you do not feel light, or if you do not feel like something has been freed after a session, then you need to reconsider or see how you can apply yourself more in that space.
Yeah, the homework can be annoying, because you do get homework.
Yeah, you do.
You have to write a letter, or you might have to journal. So sometimes you get home and you don't feel like doing it, but please try to do the homework. It really helps.
Yeah.
It really, really helps.
I know there was also a couple of concerns regarding how do you have a conversation with a friend who is suffering a lot, and they've become now very negative, and now you're at a space where you need to distance yourself from that friendship because it's now having an impact on self. How do you have that conversation with the friend without hurting their feelings?
You can't not hurt their feelings, because everyone wants to be heard. What do human beings want? We want to be loved, we want to be heard, we want to be understood. So now you come and say to me, Cindy, you know what? I just need to take a bit of a break from you, because your stories are starting to get to me. Of course I'm going to be hurt, but because you've explained to me that it's a temporary thing, you're not leaving me, you're not abandoning me, but you need time out just to gather yourself. And then you'll be back. I'll understand that. I will be hurt, because it's true. You can't always offload on a person and not expect them to change in some way. So open, honest, to the point conversations help. Don't beat about the bush and go around in circles. Just say it as it is.
And I think also when you are battling with mental illness, I think the one thing that always helps is knowing where you stand with people. So sometimes when you are in a space where you are relying too much on a person, it's very important to be aware of that and to show gratitude and to say thank you that you've helped me and you supported me and you're there. People always love being appreciated. And
there's also a darker side to mental illness, in the sense that some people will use their mental illness as an excuse for certain behavior. So everything now becomes about I couldn't come because I was feeling a bit depressed on that day. I couldn't come because of this. I couldn't come because of this. So if you are living with mental illness, please be aware of that blind spot. That you're not using your mental illness as an excuse not to do stuff, right? Because it can get like that. It can easily get there. So just be aware of that.
All right. The next scenario says, I've been dating my partner for 4 months and I don't think he knows that I battle with depression. How do I tell him about my mental health without scaring him away?
Yeah, the myths around mental illness, and yes, people have their own ideas about what mental illness is. I think break the news in a very neutral environment. I always say to people, a disclosure must happen in a neutral environment. So go to a park, a place where, don't go to your favorite restaurant and break this news in case you guys don't work out. But go to a park, sit there, and just very calmly, honey, I have something to tell you. I've been living with depression, and I thought you should know. And be prepared to be asked lots of questions, and also be prepared for rejection, because some people just don't have the capacity to deal with such. So you have to be ready for that. In your heart of hearts, just okay, this might go well or this might go badly. If it goes badly, so be it, and you let the person go.
But is dating is having depression a dating deal breaker?
For some people, mental illness is a dating deal breaker, and you know what? It's okay. Banjalo, there's nothing we can do about it, but there are people like that. So that's why some people choose not to disclose, but there are people that don't want to date people with mental illnesses, and I'm not going to judge them. Banjalo.
But I think it's an interesting conversation to have. So also let us know in the comment section below how you feel about whether having or being in a relationship with someone who has mental illness is a dating deal breaker. I'm really interested to hear what everyone has to say. All right, next one says, this one's quite heavy. So it says, 3 years ago, I was assaulted by one of my ex-friends at the back row of an English class. I won't mention what exactly he did, but he said homophobic things to me whilst doing it. It has affected me mentally since it happened. And despite me not having to see him the entire of 2019, every time I see him on a WhatsApp status or an Insta story, I begin to panic and fall into a depressive episode. I attempted to tell 2 friends separately and they didn't seem to care, and they continued their friendship with him. I don't know what to do. Please help.
Okay, so there's 2 things there. So he's suffering from post-trauma stress disorder. So he had this incident, very unfortunate.
Yeah.
And now he keeps getting triggered, right? So he'll need to get help about that. The second thing is, you need to put yourself first. Self-care comes first.
Yeah.
If the people in your life are still hanging around with the person that traumatized you, then you have every right to cut them all off. Self-care comes first. I can't stress it enough. And I think that we spend too much time worrying about other people and not taking care of ourselves. So you take care of yourself first, you cut those guys out, you block them on Insta, you block them on WhatsApp, and you seek the help that you need for your post-trauma stress disorder, and hopefully you'll get better as time goes on. It does take time, and it's not easy to cut people off, but you really have to, or else you're going to keep getting triggered.
Working with triggers it's quite insane, because sometimes you can see it coming and other times you just don't, and then you just find yourself in such a negative funk.
So I'm very clear about the things that upset me and the things that make me happy, and I just steer clear of stuff that upsets me. So in the past, I'd agree to do everything because I was always the nice one, but now I've learned to look after my heart, look after myself, and I encourage you to do that. Like, you have to have boundaries. Boundaries will save you. But if you don't have boundaries, you'll find yourself in a lot of trouble. So don't ever feel guilty about creating boundaries, be it in your workspace, your personal space, whatever space, even on Twitter, blocking people, muting people, and so on. Create boundaries for the sake of your mental health.
Thank you so much to everybody for sending through your scenarios. And thank you so much, Dr. Sindi van Zyl, for also coming through to Defining. Really do appreciate you sharing some bars and some knowledge regarding these topics. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you for watching this video.
Thank you.